Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Context is King. I'm Rebecca Brayton, and with me as always is WatchMojo founder and CEO Ashkan Karpazrushan to let us know a few of the highlights from the 2018 Amazon shareholders letter. Highlights, takeaways, what do we got?
There's three that stand out. He brings up this concept of wandering, as in wandering, not I'm wandering, but wandering
Jeff
around
Bezos.
it. Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
richest man in the world. And he basically talks about wandering is like with an A in the desert. And it's funny, he goes, quote, sometimes, often actually in business, you do know where you're going. And when you do, you can be efficient. But he goes on to add that sometimes you don't, and you got to have room for that. And this is actually my pizza dough analogy. The pizza dough analogy is when I was young, I worked in many jobs. I wasn't always the CEO of WatchMojo. And the first day, they're like, I was there to actually do like bookkeeping, but they were like, okay, when there's a rush. And I was like, yeah, I have no ego, I'll do anything, I love it. So they're like, okay, let's see if you could make a pizza. So they gave me a dough and they're like, let's see if you could stretch it out. I tell you that pizza never made it out, right? I mean, that pizza dough was dead. So the point was, you always need these guinea pigs, you always need to practice, and sometimes you're gonna try and it doesn't always work. And 13, 14 years into the business, I keep stressing that myself, although we're like, Amazon does more in the 1 second than we do in a year. But it's true, you gotta keep experimenting, and that's part of life. So that I liked. We do that a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is an experiment.
This is an experiment before we get shut down. The second one, and I love this one, and this is basically WatchMojo. AWS, which is their entire technology stack that hosts, streams content and all that, as a whole is an example of doing stuff that no one asked for. And that's key. I always cite Ford. If Ford would have asked consumers, what would you like? They would have said faster horses. If I would have in 2005 or 6 done a nice focus group and said, what do you want? In like the video space, people would have said UGC in high definition. I was not going to do UGC, user-generated content. So we kind of, not created, but we kind of like, spearheaded and focused in an area that didn't want. What's something, aside from WatchMojo, you think that we've done that people didn't ask for and that was successful?
Oh boy. I mean, what do you mean aside from WatchMojo?
Well, I mean, because I just said like WatchMojo.
Yeah, I mean, the suggest page I think was definitely something
That's
that.
a great idea. The suggest page was to, it's hard for me to follow all the suggestions through comments. Yeah, we built something, nobody asked for it, but it's true. That's one of the better examples. And then 3, this concept of failure needs to scale too, that if you don't fail enough anymore, it means you're not taking enough chances. Now, I have a question for you. You've been here pretty much since day one. Do you think we have a culture where if and when we fail, whatever the definition of fail is, do you think people are afraid, especially the newer folks? Or do you think they're like, yeah, there's no real repercussions, there's no real punishment? Or
I mean, I think inherently everybody is afraid to fail no matter what the scenario is, and even if they don't get like blasted at work. But I don't think people are afraid in terms of like losing their job. Afraid.
Yeah, I would say there's probably too much lack of fear at WatchMojo. Like I emailed a colleague, I know you should get that reaction. I emailed a colleague and I was like, hey, so this meeting I'd like to join. I want to go over a few points. He's like, sure. And then I'm like, could you add this to the agenda? He just replies, nope, we don't have time for it. And I'm like, I didn't mind, but I was like, I like that. I like the fact that anybody could tell me, no, you're wrong. I don't, or you know what, Ash? You have to convey to me why this is a priority because you don't do bullshit just because some guy said to do it. And then I sent an email. Now, in all fairness, this was later in the evening, but I sent an email on a Friday, so it's all good. I'd forgotten, but I'm like, hey, I asked a question. Day goes on. Now it's like 6, 7. I was like, forgot. I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm like, it's good because I've worked for a lot of people. And I guarantee you, I don't care if it's Friday or whenever it is, but if my boss asks me a question, I make sure I answer. And the fact that nobody thought to answer until much later, and then I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's important to note that Ash, when he says, I almost forgot about it. He did not. He did not. He's still talking about the time I set the microwave on fire.
Yes. Do we have that recorded? No. All right. Yeah. So did you read it? Did you love it?
I skimmed it.
You memorized it is what you did.
No, I did not. My takeaways
You have enough emails from bald dudes to read. I don't think you need Jeff Bezos as
Fair
well.
enough. My takeaways were more specific to Amazon, not like
which
grand
one?
scheme. Just that they're getting their butts kicked by third-party sellers.
That's spin. It's the best thing ever. What he's basically saying is we have become not just an e-commerce store, we've become the platform for e-commerce. It's like such a hashtag humble brag.
Fine.
Good. It's like saying, oh my God, this is a parallel, bizarre world parallel since they're massive and we're tiny, but It's like if I were to come to the team and say, you guys have come up with like 57 great ideas, but our billions of viewers have come up with thousands and thousands of ideas. They're kicking your butt. If thousands and thousands of users are suggesting ideas and you come up with great videos, your job is done.
Gotcha.
I read it like that. I was like, he's kind of tongue in cheek.
Well, that explains
else?
why that was basically it. I mean, they're going to fail more, blah, blah, blah.
Revisionist
More
history.
brick and mortar stores, which is weird.
It makes sense. I
mean,
feel
it
worlds
does,
are
but
colliding.
like all these, like media is, going from premium TV, then around again to the internet, and then they're going to end up back at the beginning.
Everything is like that.
Yeah.
It goes over to one extreme, then it goes back. Like in M&A, companies used to merge, and they spin off. It's the same thing,
But then they can't come out and say, like, they can't come out against, like, old media or, brick and mortar stores. Anyway.
I have one question for you. You, I guess, were more always of a consumer of Amazon than like following them from a business perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
At what point did their size and awesome power like connect? That you're like, oh, this isn't just like a website where I order stuff. The whole world is going to be run on Amazon, or is it?
I don't even think it's hit me yet.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's the future.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's like basically everything that's digital will be on Google. Everything that is the gateway to consume content and all that will be Apple, to dumb it down. And then everything that is kind of real world infrastructure, logistics, e-commerce, that's Jeff Bezos. It's very simple. They're going to split up the world.
Oh boy. I thought we had laws against this. No? What do you think? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you next time.